for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Tony Biancardi,
Here.
Jim Constantine,
Here.
and Angie Scott is absent.
Approval of minutes from February 15th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
And I will second that. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Any correspondence tonight?
I did forward you an email a couple days ago, about a water tracing dye study. I don't know if that needs to be mentioned in correspondence at this board or sanitary, but it looks like it's a stormwater outfall. So just that Cleveland Cliffs was approved to do some sort of flow meter testing, with dye.
And that would affect us as well then? Or-
I think so.
Okay. Do you, Bill, you know anything about that? Or Shem, the water tracing?
Just what we got from correspondence that we got,
Okay, do we need to do anything?
they're just doing.
Just notify them?
Yeah, we were just notified at a dye study at outfall 001, which discharges to the east arm of the Little Cow.
So, what they're doing is trying to still, they're working on that whole project about their infiltration,
Yeah,
so they're trying to follow it, and then it's part of that is to record the outfall.
but I mean, keep letting us know because our name's on the permit out there, so we should.
Absolutely, we get a call, I think we need to.
Right.
So are they testing right now, correct?
Is this? Here, not sure.
Yeah, sure.
See it.
Oh.
I wasn't clear on whether this was stormwater or.
Well, once they,
Considering,
well,
'cause
it
that-
will be both, actions. So right. So I think once they finish the testing, they can send us a report and that will be our baseline. For part B for MS4, which I was gonna report on right
Okay.
now.
Just wait.
All right.
for it.
Yeah, so us, they have a shared system out there,
Right,
so they'll be doing both of that. So
Shall we have anything that's not on the agenda?
No.
Okay. Old business, Jim, we just keep the old business of future projects so that we don't lose sight of something. This board only meets every other month, so it's just there in case, just to jog anyone's memory if something comes up. New business, Westport Road storm drain.
that's actually what we were talking about. So that storm drain, was reported, we did go out and look at it. We did actually run the camera through it. The first section of about 10-12 feet has a little bit of corrosion in it. Where they saw the rust at is actually the outfall flume. At this time, I don't recommend replacing it or disturbing it. It's still doing the job. It's not got any underwash. It's the outfall flume. I do have some pictures of it. I can share with the board. But I showed Shem. Right now, I don't think that it needs to be.
Is that
replaced.
the new that we just did
No.
a few years ago? Oh, okay.
That one is a big, great one, and we did look at that one while we were down there, by the way. It's still perfect. I mean, that's a concrete structure. So when we did that, that was out of concrete. But the grades and everything look good. We cleaned them out.
So this one that's on here, visually, someone saw it and just mentioned it.
Saw the-
Years-
Little rust on the bottom.
The end treatment, the flare, it's a little bit rusted at the end. Worst case scenario, I guess, you can replace just the end treatment or you can add riprap around it,
Okay,
you know, so.
but it's fine, it's working, it's not,
Yeah, I'll send it out.
okay,
So if you just look at the flow,
yeah,
and it does look like it's rusting, but that's actually from the stormwater.
yeah, sitting there, for sure, yeah.
So this is where the rust is here. It's tiny bit. But it's out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
so you can replace just this flume if we wanted to, but to get down in there where that's at, you're gonna do a lot more damage trying to get down there.
yeah,
Where, okay, that,
It actually runs north and south.
Westport,
West, right after McKee's property, if you go down to the ravine, the big one that we replaced.
yeah,
It's
on the
just-
east side of the road,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
So we even ran the camera in there, and it's pretty, it's not collapsed. I ran it all the way to almost McGee's structure. So it's good.
so do nothing at this time is the recommendation.
I don't think so, because if you look here. You can kind of see the outfall, we would have to disturb all this,
Yeah,
and we're gonna do worse and more corrosion than we're gonna do, or erosion, sorry.
well, if it's working, then.
Yeah, it's not doing it, we'll continue to monitor it. And make sure that we don't have anything, but there's really no washout area.
All right, MS4 implementation plan. So I guess.
I can talk about it. a little
So
bit.
to this point, we've met our deadlines and have done what we need to.
So we mailed our notice of intent forms to IDEM, April 12th. I just checked because I sent them certified. They were delivered yesterday. So they were postmarked before the deadline. So,
Okay.
yes.
All right,
So that's part A.
okay,
We still have part B and part C, and those are 180 days. The next supplemental will be 180 days. So,
and part B is,
It's the mapping and the documents and the ordinance. And,
Right.
whatever it is that we did. And I think in the 180 days, I can't remember what was it in part A. Don't have, I'm sorry, I don't have part
I
A with
can
me.
make it the forms.
If I remember correctly, I think it's the document that we have
mhm,
and the ordinance that is being passed.
right,
Okay, this has been time to ask this question then, with the mapping and documenting. Will that program we bought for the sanitation department, do them be able to put the input in it for mapping?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the education part as well, I don't now remember it. Is that correct?
We mentioned that when we bought that program for the sanitation department, that we'd be able to use it for the MS4 and the street department and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
and then part C is
That's testing.
down the
and-
road,
Yes,
okay,
and the management of the program itself for
Right.
construction activities.
right,
So the administration of the program, which has already been done, so any plans that it comes into the town for any construction right now. It has to actually submit an NOI to DNR, or
Right.
I'm sorry, the item, and usually it's reviewed as such, so already the town is doing it.
right,
I would say 90% of the program is already, with the exception of the outreach program, the education and the testing and the actual mapping per the requirements. The mapping for the outfall only, not the entire system, but the outfall only. So anything that is discharging to any of the MS4 creeks, if you will, or rivers or any waterways.
so part A, we've met that deadline, that's the intent. Part B, you said we have 180 days, and what
So
is,
that's the middle.
According to our timeline that we submitted, October 10th of
And-
2023 is when part B, which is a baseline characterization and report.
okay,
Which is the testing, and then the implementation of the education program, which is a.
so that's part of part B,
It is to say that we're gonna do that
okay,
at a certain time. So we can say after 6 months that, okay, we're gonna implement the education program as one.
how extensive is the program, just sending it from, like,
The annual report is somewhat extensive, but as far as the submittal for part B, it's not.
but the outreach is to residents, right? Or is it
And construction.
in construction?
So it's your contractors, your on-site supervisors, contacts, and then also your residents.
Which we have all of those through the building department, and then would it, so,
Minimum measures, I guess, there is 6 minimum measures, and I apologize,
That's
I don't
okay.
have my documents with me, but. There is minimum measures that you have to meet, which is that there are 6, if I'm not mistaken. And the main thing for the outreach program, I mean, if you have even a sign in any trucks for the town or any permits that you're giving out, you can attach an outreach to that, or
okay,
flyers or You can even send flyers through the sanitary bill.
Well, so that's what I was, well, that only goes out once a year, but that's what I was wondering if when we mail coupon books again in November, we can put the outreach in there. I didn't know if that would meet the deadline. So if B is just saying this is the plan and when we're gonna do it, then we could do that outreach in the November when we mail the books.
Correct. In addition to that, the testing. So the testing of the outfalls as well.
And so that's,
Testing.
okay, that is hiring someone to do that?
Yes, identifying where those outfalls to begin with.
Okay,
So any total suspended solid and any ponds, for example, those are the base characterization for your storm.
and so is that something that you guys would come out and do then,
Sure,
and then we would have to find someone to test
sure, we usually use Aegis Environmental,
it?
they're in the same building. So they're really very reasonable and easy to work with.
And that's part B,
Correct,
so then we should schedule that and get that done before the end of the summer?
correct,
Okay,
yeah, before October, that will be this will be-
okay,
It's on our radar.
it's on your radar,
That's only part of
is
it.
it on your schedule? Okay.
Part of our outreach,
That's on my radar.
which also is every time a builder comes in and gets a building packet,
Yeah,
that we give that to them, because that also tells them about what we need to probably look at and amend when we get more into this sooner than later. Is one thing I learned from taking the inspector's course is that they need to contact who their site contacts are and who's gonna be doing their erosion inspections, however we choose. Me and Jim was talking.
mhm,
We really think monthly on a construction site, unless we have a large rain event, then obviously it would have to be re-inspected, but those have to be reported to us as part of it.
mhm.
So by doing that, even those flyers and then minimum standards will be spelled out when we get the building permit.
Do we already have those flyers that we give them?
No,
No,
Okay, so we need
we're
to,
sending,
oh, you're gonna send us that?
Yeah.
Okay.
there is a packet that we're gonna send with a checklist
Uh-huh,
for the minimum standard.
yeah,
And basically, flyers that will be posted on the town,
right,
flyers that will be posted in the building commissioner department or in the sanitary.
yeah,
so another thing that we need to bring up, I think is in part B, right, too, is the enforcement part of it that has to be adopted.
Absolutely.
is that in the
In
ordinance?
the ordinance,
Okay.
it is.
Okay,
So,
Yeah.
because right now, all I'm going on is what we have in the ordinance, but we really don't have any like violations with these schedules. Or if I find somebody that not taking.
well, and if that's attached to a building permit, they just don't get their occupancy, right?
That's correct.
I mean, but that might need to be something that's spelled out as
Well,
well.
and that could be, and here's why we need something different besides just the occupancy.
And stop work order.
Yeah.
Stop work orders is one. The other one is how we violate a major, like if they had a dump on site, they didn't clean it up. Or a violation, because one thing is like concrete washouts,
Mhm,
those have to be spelled out now and justified.
yeah,
The simple things, the booms, where did you place them, how did you place them, the baskets for the drains. Those things all have to be expected, and we've been doing them,
uh-huh,
now that I'm more aware of it,
right,
I've been doing the on-site inspections, and believe it or not. I don't know, because they built in other MS4 communities, but most of our, they're doing it.
so the violations though are not a part of the ordinance that we're gonna adopt next month.
No,
Okay, because if any new fee, my understanding is it's, it's 90 days before we can,
Right.
so,
That's what I was saying, so we need to start.
but there is a stop work order enforcement.
Sure.
There is a teeth to that.
Yeah.
The other thing too, there's a weekly inspection, or it's actually it's per event, or weekly. So it's one report per week per event.
mhm.
So any storm event, so every time it rains, the inspection is required, or if there is no rain through the week, then one.
So an inspection of construction sites,
Correct.
so if we had 100 construction sites and it rained, Bill has to go out and inspect all of them?
Anything that is more than one, anything that is under the permit, the erosion control permit.
Oh, okay,
And the way that we calculated that right now, it's 10,000 square feet.
okay,
So anything that is disturbed more than 10,000 square feet, yes, it falls under that permit.
so how much is that in
Any-
acre?
Anything below that is reported by their on-site, that's what I was talking about.
Oh,
They
okay.
have Responsibility. And then I may or may not go out and inspect it, they don't know, that's the little bit done.
Okay,
But then there's another, I'm sorry, I know it's a big program and there's a lot of reporting requirements, so my apologies. One of the, I guess that is required for any site that is 5 acres or above. They have to submit, soil water quality management program, plan. SWAM.
okay.
I think that's the.
We like it.
Yes, the acronym. So that plan has to be submitted before even the construction, and they have to identify who's gonna be their weekly inspector. And the weekly inspection form, it needs to be submitted by them to you, to us.
So these plans then should be a part of, well, permits, but would they also then be a part of anything that comes before the plan commission? Like, is there a place there?
It's in the building permit,
Okay, all right,
so it's really at the time of construction,
okay,
more than it's a.
okay.
And it is a design, don't get me wrong, it's part of the design.
I know the past, sometimes we've taken care of something over here, but it affected this and we didn't make sure everyone was covered, so.
So there is a tier, I guess, of permitting. I just want to make sure that, you know, it's clear, I guess, that if there's a site that is 5 acres or a site that is 1 acre or a site that is 10,000 square feet.
Okay.
Those are, you know, different levels of,
Yeah.
Didn't I see something where, private land under an acre is exempt?
it is exempt from the notice of intent. So you're correct, disturbance of land that is less than 1 acre, that's why I was actually referring to the tier. Anything that is less than 1 acre disturbed, that is not an NOI, you don't have to do a notice of intent, but you still have to have an erosion control plan.
Well, where my question came in on that is somebody, I'm one of them, I gotta do it this year. I wanna bring some black dirt in and level some low spots
Yeah,
where I take some trees out and the ground is settled, where I took my septic tank out 18 years ago, it is settled. And that's disturbing it, but I'm just leveling it.
if you're disturbing less than 2,000, less than 10,000 square feet, you're exempt, you're completely exempt.
So we ain't gotta worry about, like me,
Correct.
somebody has a truckload of dirt brought in, he ain't gotta get no permits or.
Right, as long as now that could be triggered to something else in the ordinance that is you are changing the lay of the land or changing the drainage watershed, or you are creating a drainage issue to your neighbor or something like that. That could be an enforcement issue
Yeah.
on the other side for disturbance of land. But for the MS4 program, permitting process, anything that is less than 10,000 square feet, you don't have to do it. Anything above that, now it becomes a tier issue. Or different type of permit.
Okay, so we only meet every 2 months. So who's in charge of what needs to be done for this B? Like,
The B we will submit for sure. I mean, the B is definitely in the process right now. We're
well,
working on it.
right, but there's,
So-
but like the education and all of those other parts that are part of it, how are we gonna make sure, you know, again, like moving forward?
For the education part of it,
Yeah, because that's part of B, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, so
what-
that's, I guess that's what I'm saying, so all of those parts, okay, submitting and passing an ordinance is fine. But then all those other parts, we don't meet for 2 months, so I'm just saying, are we on track to have everything else ready as well when we need to?
So in my mind, the
Who's doing
education,
it?
in my mind, the education part is flyers and posters and at least the initial part. Now, at some point, the state would love to see enhancement. So because it's a measured program,
Right,
so in your annual report, they want to see what else more that you are doing. You know?
and yeah,
Website's a huge one.
okay, so that's fine, I get all that, flyers and all that, but so. Corinne, are you managing that? Like, that's where I'm going with this, like, who's picking the flyer and saying this is appropriate and who's making sure we start?
Yeah, that's.
That's
Probably, but as far as where it's gonna be posted, that's.
Does no,
We can tell you.
No.
okay,
We're good with what's being posted on the website, home mail, I think that's, okay,
Between Colin and I, I'll get some samples
Yeah, I mean, we'll get it out, but the materials, like who's taking the lead on materials? So you're going to, Bill? Okay,
I can send you some support with that.
Yeah.
The
I
contact.
think you pick some up at Chester.
I've got a
Right, so
couple
but
files
we
of
need
different-
to like decide on, okay, we're gonna go with this and make sure that that's been developed.
There's a lot of good, even when I went to the conference, I've got a lot of good in the folder, a lot of the sample copies. So I'll pull those and then, when Corinne has time, we'll sit down and, actually.
If you get something, if you get something, you need a hand on. I'm always available to help you in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'll just come up with a print on the flyer and like I said, also one that was put in the builder packets.
Yeah,
And then, maybe that will trigger some ideas for the website to put up there.
Yeah.
One thing that was really recommended, and keep in mind, this program has been around for almost 15 years or so. So there is a lot of copy paste from other communities, you know, so
Mhm.
it's not that major, I guess, to find the documents for brochure or public outreach, I guess. But one thing, I guess I want to make sure that I mentioned that the Citizen Action Committee, what they do actually is to hold a meeting for public outreach for storm education.
wait, we need to have one?
You don't need to have one, but it's recommended, I guess, in the future, because you have a storm board right now. So it's open to the public, you know, so anyone can come in and you can have the flyers probably sitting here in the future. And anyone can take it or pick up a flyer, how to manage the grass, how to manage any storm in front of your house, what is not to do, what is not to dump on a storm system, you know, so those public flyers, I guess, count as a point
Right.
for your public outreach.
Sure.
So whatever, if the board is feeling that if you are meeting once or every 2 months or 3 months and you feel that the public outreach is not met or nobody's taken those flyers, maybe you can have that citizen action committee that they can assist, I guess, in making the town hall available or those brochure available at some place.
Mhm. Okay,
And it could be just anyone from the public, you know, you can appoint. So those items for the public outreach, as long as you're meeting or you're trying to reach the public, it's an outreach.
right,
Um,
so then if
and
you.
it's measurable as well.
Right, so if you have those flyers and you can share them with Corinne, is it realistic to think that in our meeting in June, we could maybe look at something? I don't think we need multiple versions, we might need a builder version and a resident version, but it's not like you don't need to recreate it into every possible media piece that is out there. I'd say we just start with a flyer.
We'll definitely have some.
So whatever it is that the public outreach portion, I guess, of it, the location and where you're gonna put the flyers and how, please document that as much as you can. So let's say that you have 100,000 brochure in town hall. Let's document that,
Right,
that we have 100,000, and now we can report that in the 180 days. Report. So my point, I guess, as long as it's not just a public outreach, it's where and it's measured,
Sure.
you know, we have
Yeah.
100,000, that's 10 flyers for a resident.
I was just gonna say, but whatever, okay,
I'm throwing numbers.
one per household.
Yeah, 1 million brochure.
Okay, so you feel like we're on track?
Yes, we
Or-
We'll have some.
Okay. All right, Jimmy, anything else on MS4? We'll talk about it every month, don't worry.
Yeah.
Every time we meet. Financial reports. Do
we haven't spent any money this year. We
Okay, what's our
don't have
balance
any
right now?
plans Either, in the fund is $89,616.79.
And what did we appropriate this year?
98,500.
Okay,
So, I mean, obviously, depending on the progress of Hegland Road, you know,
So
we may have to.
if I may talk about Hegland Road a little bit? No?
no, go ahead.
It's easier for me to explain. It's a tough ride.
You have 3 minutes.
So we had a meeting. Okay, I'm done.
That's really what we always say.
No, we had a meeting with NIPSCO to move their filing. They assigned an engineer for the project and we had a meeting with them with Bill and and Rob. And the project is gonna be a little bit more difficult than what we thought for them. We don't have right of way for them to move it whether south or north.
Okay,
So they are not quite sure what to do.
and if they don't move it, we can't fix the drains.
That is correct.
Okay, I'm just.
Unless that we move our drain to north of the poles, north of the power poles. Which that will require easements or dedication of public right of way or.
Which is gonna increase the cost,
Absolutely.
right?
Now, it's not gonna increase the cost on the main stretch, if you will, or the main parcel, which is owned by the town or the development commission. But anything past that, that's private.
So now that that's the case. Are they obligated to do that for us? Or can they come back and say, the project is not something that we are able to do?
They haven't said that, honestly. I mean, they were trying,
Okay,
you know,
but they could possibly come back and say that. That
they
it's not
could,
something that,
but we can tell them that you have to move it and obtain an easement.
okay,
Because we need the right.
but we can, like, tell them they have to move it.
Absolutely.
Okay, I guess I just wanted,
Yeah.
they can't come back and say no, essentially.
What do you think?
Yeah, we could, I think we could.
Okay, I guess that's right. So we don't really need to think of plan B. We just need to move forward and expect that NIPSCO is gonna move it so we can.
Yeah,
do it.
Then it's time.
Do what?
That becomes an issue of time.
Right, because it might not be a priority and
For them.
take time. Correct,
Right.
correct.
I guess what I'm concerned, I guess, about, and I was gonna talk to Clay about this, but. How long can we give them? Until they move it, you know, we actually have like that.
Well, can we say that literally the life expectancy of this pipe or at the point that it
It
collapses?
is collapsing all.
Okay, so, I mean, there's no life left.
First of all, it's stuff.
Yeah.
So it's dealing with the bureaucracy that things go.
Yeah, it's gonna you, we're dealing with it.
But I think that, getting to the right people, and I feel like I would be able to assist in getting the right people within NIPSCO. But I think as long as we put them on notice and we express to them in writing, email, some documented form, the dire nature and how fast we need to get this done, and then if they don't do what we need them to do, then I think there's gonna be some.
Right, so there's some sort of assessment of the current drainage, right? So sending them the documentation that says that as of this date, when it was inspected, this is the situation it's in.
Absolutely.
And so we need to correct it. Because we also talked about not going out to bid again until NIPSCO work is done, right? Because we don't want to get in the same situation.
Correct.
Okay,
So what we are finding right now, just to let you know. And that's the dilemma, which I completely understand
for
as well.
sure.
The right of way is much smaller than the as-built of the sanitary, so we are using the as-built of the sanitary for the right of way, and that is not accurate.
Okay,
We found another outlet, and we are digging deeper into this. We found another document that shows that it's 45 feet instead of 60 feet. So the right of way is actually
right.
much narrower, I guess. And they are asking, what, can you give us an easement anywhere? And I said, I don't know, I'm gonna ask the town, I guess, so I need to actually figure out, should we give them an easement on the north side of Hagland on the parcel that the town owns? I don't know, that's a question, I guess, that probably.
Can
We can, of course, but I don't know
If we own the property, we can give an easement.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, if it works and it doesn't cause issues to us, I don't know. If we wouldn't be able to solve.
I'm definitely okay with it, and as long as they can move it fast and we can assist in that.
But maybe,
but beyond
if
that-
they have an easement and it's ours to give to them, it's not gonna be a big. Going through residents and those kinds of things.
But that's the next phase. And that's my point, that now we are stopping the project at the property that the town owns.
Okay,
So now it's less than 1,200 feet, it'll be 800 feet. And now they have to get an easement from the private resident after that,
oh, so they're gonna need more than what we can give them,
yeah,
okay,
going east.
okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult situation for all, you know, like and I wish that they had talked to us a year ago.
Right, exactly, because we probably could have solved it already.
Yeah.
Okay, so then where are you with that? Is there another meeting with NIPSCO? Is there? What do you-
So the next question, I guess, can we reduce the project and give them an easement? Because we can't move on beyond the, you know, the easement that we were gonna give them.
Right,
And they can actually work in the easement, for the private residence. access.
so the other issue is that we have designated ARP money for this, and that has a spend by date, right, Corinne? We have to spend it by, I wanna say 2024.
We have to have it appropriated to spend by 2024. I think everything has to be wrapped up by 2026, but I'll double check.
Okay.
those dates for you.
Okay,
So
so,
allocated though, in 2024.
Obligated by
Bye.
December of 2024.
and is it being obligated and appropriated, does that mean there's a contract attached to it, or it's just that we're gonna spend it?
That's a good question.
Okay, so, I mean, that's also another, you know,
Yeah, 3 months.
piece that we've got to take to NIPSCO and say, you know.
Unless the town wants to acquire property, I guess, and I don't know how we can help them more than giving them an easement on an existing parcel that the town owns. I don't know how we can help more.
Do you have a contact that is so that
I do.
decision maker that you're dealing with?
Yeah.
A little catch up on
I'll send
what
it.
section is what you're talking
Sure.
about.
I would just get with Bill and he can help you with that.
So I'll get with Clay, I guess, and try to make something with NIPSCO or make them aware that this is a major issue.
Yeah, well, yeah, right, first it needs to be fixed because there's no more life of it, and second, there's a deadline to this money.
Right, and I'm worried about the next phases. Not only this phase,
Right.
I'm worried about what will happen next.
Right,
You know, because the entire pipe section along Aglet, probably in dire need of
Right.
replacement, the near future here, so. And they have that 8-inch line just hugging the pipe.
I do think if we can put like stents in your arteries, isn't there one for a drain?
There is a line.
No.
No,
Like, no shit.
You're absolutely right. We thought about that issue, but unfortunately, it's collapsed. No, it is.
Unfortunately, why? Because it's collapsed.
It is collapsed in some section and multiple sections.
Okay,
That's why it
So you
needs to be
can't.
replaced. But then the one east of it, we might be able to slip line. So absolutely, you're right. I like it.
I mean, we can do that to, you know,
Yeah.
people.
We can do it to storm as well.
Okay, all right. Okay, so you'll follow up
I
and
will.
and
I will.
Luke play in on that,
Still on the financial,
sure,
we were talking about maybe starting to assess a fee. Before we start getting some money into the department.
MS
We
four.
want to discuss that now, or
Well, not really, because your other meeting was supposed to start 3 minutes ago. But it's definitely, I would get through B of the plan and then start thinking about that for sure. The town general fund has covered some of like Bill's training at those minimal costs, maybe possibly even some education. So aside from this Hadland Road project,
because we're already basically $10,000 short. Project already?
no, that project's covered. It's paid for. The money that's in there, like, I think 60 of it, we said we'll spend on the project and the other 140-ish is gonna come from the ARP money that we got from COVID. So that project's covered.
So it's not hurt right now.
No, I don't think so. And it'll take some time to work through that to determine the levels. We don't have any claims tonight? No claims. Any other order of the community and any other business?
I guess I got a question, you brought it up, the annual meeting that I went to last year
for MS4 is coming up in Plainfield on the 15th and 16th.
Okay,
You guys want me to attend that? I'll be just getting back from
15th and 16th of,
May.
do you have to?
Well, it's all the latest and updates and we need to know, so I think it'll be, he's the operator on the permit. So. I'm sorry. He needs to be up to date on everything that we know.
So that would be an overnight
Yeah.
expense and then the
It's 2
cost
days, yeah.
of the,
Hotel.
right,
It's
so.
like $145 for the room, I think I saw online.
We just- We don't so we have no money to pay for that. So that would really be a council and that we don't meet again until May. Right, which. Can you put together the expense though, and even send that to me and I'll see what,
Tomorrow. I just got the thing, actually, we met today.
okay,
And she's like, are you going to a conference? I was like, I didn't get the email, so I actually just got it today, so.
Okay.
It's no more than tonight, so.
yeah, if you could put like the cost and then what a hotel would be like for your trip. Yeah,
Next time I'll go, so just go set on a flyer.
like today.
That's pretty much.
None of that can be covered by sanitation credit.
No, I don't think so, no.
So I'll send it out tomorrow and then send it to the whole council on the board here.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, just on it, it's one of those expenses related to MS4 that's not really, there's no funds to cover it yet, so,
We went to last.
yeah, for sure. Anything else? We will meet again on June 21st.
Make a motion to adjourn then.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.